Iran preys on America's weakness. Is it already declaring victory before round 2 even begins? Unequal battle is how Iran mocks the US, pointing to what it describes as a growing shortage of weapons on the American side. Trump's army is being cast as the real loser, with depleted weapons and the soaring cost of war now becoming part of the criticism. With no ammo to spare, does Trump still want to launch round 2 against Iran and risk humiliating America's forces?
Sir, under what circumstances would you restart military strikes on targets?
Well, I don't want to say that. I mean, I can't tell that to a reporter. If they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But it's a possibility that could happen, sir.
Have peace talks been tossed aside after Trump declared the proposal unacceptable? Amid rising fears of a renewed war, an IRGC spokesperson made a strong and highly charged declaration that quickly drew attention. Brigadier General Hossein Mohabi made the remarks on May 3 during an interview with IIB, where he addressed the escalating tensions. Brigadier General Mohabi declared that Iran would emerge as the ultimate victors in war, presenting the claim in emphatic terms. He said, and I quote, "In the unequal battle we are facing, Iran's armed forces will be the final victors. They fight with the culture of ashura and consider surrender a disgrace for themselves. Our model in today's wars is the model of ashura, steadfastness in an unequal battle. Our enemies are specifically one country and one regime with enormous equipment. America brought its latest defensive and offensive equipment to the battlefield. Our equipment and the number of our forces are very unequal compared to theirs. But our spiritual power enabled us to stand against them. In this arena, our fighter either wins or is martyred. Martyrdom is happiness for him. In such a situation, our forces do not falter. If the enemy infiltrates the mind of our forces through cognitive warfare, it can create doubt and reduce their resilience. But ashura training prevents this infiltration. Our fighters, possessing combat, operational and defensive capabilities as well as religious faith, give their lives so that the people can have security." Unquote. Mohabi's declaration came as US President Trump said he could restart strikes on Iran, adding a new layer of tension to an already volatile situation.
Doing very well with regard to Iran. Again, they want to make a deal. They're decimated, and they're having a hard time figuring out who their leader is. They don't know who their leader is because their leader's gone. Their former leader come in. But we'll see. Any questions real fast? Which?
The new 14-point proposal that Iran has?
No, I haven't. I'm looking at it up here.
You're looking at it?
Yeah. I'll let you know about it later. But
Mr. President, last night you said we might be better off not making a deal with Iran.
Well, I wouldn't have to. I didn't say that. I said that if we left right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild. But we're not leaving right now. We're going to do it so nobody has to go back in 2 years or 5 years.
Mr. President, you also said last night that...
They told me about the concept of the deal. They're going to give me the exact wording there, yeah.
Mr. President, last night you also said that only 85% of Iran's missile-making capabilities has been eliminated.
Correct.
Is that other 15% important? Does the United States need to eliminate that?
Well, I'd like to eliminate it, yeah. I'd like to. It'd be a start for them to build up again. And yeah, I would like to eliminate it.
Mr. President. Sir, under what circumstances would you restart military strikes on targets?
Well, I don't want to say that. I mean, I can't tell that to a reporter. If they misbehave, if they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But it's a possibility that could happen, sir.
Mr. President, in your letter to Congress, you said the hostilities in Iran that started have been terminated. How can you say that given that the naval blockade is still being militarily enforced?
Well, it's a very friendly blockade. Nobody's even challenging it. Nobody at all is challenging it. Just so you understand, many presidents have been involved in things that are very big. They never had to go through anything with respect to Congress. They considered it to be totally unconstitutional. And the Democrats in Congress that pushed this, and probably a couple of Republicans, they're hurting our negotiating ability, which is infinite right now. And they shouldn't be doing it. It's never happened before. No other president's done it. And I'm not going to be the first. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Mr. President. Do you envision a future where American energy companies are operating inside of Iran, much like Venezuela?
It could be. I'll tell you what, we have a lot of ships coming up to Texas and Louisiana. It's a line of ships. You saw the satellite. We have a line of ships, big ones, 2 million barrels, and they're coming up. I mean, literally hundreds of ships are in line to go to Texas. I mean, they're already started, but we're selling a lot of oil. A lot of oil.
Mr. President, why is the U.S. removing troops from Germany? Why is the U.S. removing troops from Germany?
We're going to cut way down, and we're cutting a lot further than 5,000.
While Trump refused to divulge his plan on Iran, the US was reportedly facing a weapons shortage after the 40-day war, raising fresh questions about its military readiness. Trump administration officials are reportedly raising new questions about how the Pentagon is portraying US power projection in the Iran war, with internal doubts emerging over whether the public narrative matches the real battlefield and logistics picture. Vice President J.D. Vance has reportedly been asking whether the Pentagon is giving President Donald Trump the full picture of the war, especially in private discussions about costs, risks, and sustainability. According to The Atlantic, Vance raised concerns in closed-door meetings about U.S. missile stockpiles and whether key munitions are being depleted faster than the administration has publicly acknowledged. Vance is said to fear that American missile reserves may be far more strained than official messaging suggests, particularly after weeks of high-intensity operations tied to the Iran conflict. Those concerns reportedly extend beyond Iran, with Vance worrying about whether the United States would still be able to fight a major future war in Taiwan, Korea, or Europe if stocks are being burned down too quickly now. Despite that, U.S. military officials and War Secretary Pete Hegseth have continued to insist that American stockpiles remain robust and that the military's position is still strong. Officials familiar with intelligence assessments told The Atlantic that the internal picture may be more complicated than those public assurances suggest, helping explain why questions inside the administration are growing sharper. Iran is still assessed to retain about 2/3 of its air force and a significant share of its missile launching capability despite weeks of US and allied strikes. Key US munitions may already be more than half depleted, with The Atlantic citing concerns that several critical weapon stocks have been drawn down far more heavily than public messaging suggests. The Atlantic also points to internal tensions within Trump's national security team, particularly over how the war's progress and costs are being described inside the administration. According to people described in the reporting, Pete Hegseth's messaging is seen by some insiders as overly optimistic and too closely aligned with what Trump wants to hear. Behind that public messaging smokescreen, J.D. Vance has reportedly kept pressing for greater clarity in closed-door meetings as doubts grow over the real state of the war. Beyond missile stocks, Vance is also said to be questioning the Pentagon's broader portrayal of battlefield success against Iran. As a result, questions are now being raised over official U.S. claims of complete control over Iranian skies and over how decisive the campaign has really been. Taken together, the reporting suggests the scale of the war and its long-term risks may be getting understated at the highest levels of the U.S. government. The United States weapons inventory may be under increasing strain, raising concerns about readiness for future conflicts. A report by Business Insider suggests that critical munitions are being consumed at a significant pace during the ongoing Iran war. Over the course of just 39 days, U.S. forces reportedly relied heavily on 7 key weapon systems in coordination with Israel. These findings were highlighted by 2 warfare specialists associated with the Center for Strategic and International Studies. According to defense analysts, such levels of consumption could pose challenges if a larger conflict were to emerge. The report indicates that while the U.S. maintains substantial stockpiles, they may not be sufficient for prolonged or simultaneous wars. Even prior to the Iran conflict, assessment suggested that U.S. stockpiles could be stretched in the event of a major confrontation with China. Experts have warned that replenishing munitions used in the Iran war could take considerable time and industrial capacity. Some estimates indicate that more than half of pre-war inventories for certain systems may already have been expended. The scale of U.S. munitions usage during the Iran conflict is reflected in the numbers below. Around 1,430 Patriot interceptors have reportedly been used out of a total inventory of approximately 2,330 units. 4 SM-3 interceptors. Estimates suggest that between 130 and 250 missiles have been expended from a stockpile exceeding 400. In the case of SM-6 missiles, usage is believed to have reached up to 370 out of an available inventory of about 1,160. Precision strike missiles, considered a newer battlefield asset, have seen between 40 and 70 units deployed from roughly 90 available. Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles have also been used extensively, with more than 850 fired from a stockpile exceeding 3,000. Similarly, around 1,000 joint air-to-surface standoff missiles have reportedly been utilized from an inventory of over 4,000 units. In response, Washington is reportedly moving to expand production and rebuild depleted stockpiles. Lockheed Martin is expected to increase THAAD interceptor production capacity to approximately 400 units annually. Production of Tomahawk missiles is also being scaled up to exceed 1,000 units per year. However, estimates suggest it could take more than 4 years to fully replenish certain key systems. As a result, analysts believe the US could face increased vulnerability in the event of another major conflict. Many of the munitions expended in the Iran war are considered essential for deterrence and operations involving China. Military experts have emphasized the importance of maintaining sufficient long-range strike capabilities for future scenarios. The report further cautions that a potential conflict with China could lead to even faster depletion of US stockpiles. Pentagon's estimate of $25 billion for the Iran war is increasingly being questioned by lawmakers, analysts, and media outlets as potentially far too low.
We have not yet received from the Pentagon the costs of the war. So just for the record, we'd like to get that as soon as possible. Certainly the munitions expended, but also underreported is we've had a fair amount of equipment destroyed, including 2 C-130s with the rescue of our downed airmen. So do you have either A, a cost estimate coming to us anytime soon, or B, a specific supplemental request?
Thank you for that question. So approximately at this day, we're spending about $25 billion on Operation Epic Fury. Most of that is in munitions. There's part of that is obviously O&M and equipment replacement. We will formulate a supplemental through the White House that will come to Congress once we have a full assessment of the cost of the conflict.
A CNN report has described the $25 billion figure as severely understated, highlighting that senior officials believe the true cost of the conflict could be much higher. According to several lawmakers and government officials, the actual cost of the war against Iran could be closer to $40 to $50 billion, especially once hidden and long-term expenses are factored in. The $25 billion number, presented by the Pentagon to Congress, largely reflects spending on munitions such as missiles, bombs, and precision strike weapons, rather than the full scope of the operation. Crucially, the Pentagon's current estimate does not appear to include the full cost of rebuilding heavily damaged U.S. military bases across the Middle East, which analysts say could add billions more. Iranian strikes in the early days of the war damaged at least 9 U.S. bases across the Gulf within a 48-hour period, stretching Washington's repair and replacement requirements. The targeted U.S. military sites included bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, underscoring how widespread the damage has been. Several high-value systems, including a THAAD battery in Jordan and similar missile defense assets in the UAE, were reportedly destroyed or severely degraded in those attacks. An American E-3 Sentry airborne early warning aircraft was also reported to have been destroyed in a strike on a Saudi airbase, compounding the financial and operational toll. The Pentagon's comptroller told lawmakers that most of the $25 billion has so far gone toward munitions, leaving the status of base repair costs less clear in the official accounting. America's War Secretary, Pete Hegseth, declined to clarify whether the cost of repairing damaged overseas installations is included in the Pentagon's $25 billion estimate, deepening doubts about its completeness. Earlier in the conflict, the Pentagon had told Congress that the war had already cost around $11 billion in just the first 6 days, illustrating how quickly expenditures can compound. The Defense Department has also requested over $200 billion in additional funding to support the ongoing war effort, covering weapons, logistics, and force structure changes. The Pentagon has acknowledged that it still lacks a complete estimate of the total damage to overseas installations, which complicates any reliable long-term budget projection. According to U.S. officials, allied nations that host American bases or share the security burden may be expected to help cover some reconstruction costs, further muddying the financial picture. Those rebuilding costs are reportedly not included in the Pentagon's proposed $1.5 trillion defense budget for fiscal year 2027, which focuses on baseline readiness and modernization rather than wartime contingencies. As a result, the full financial impact of the Iran war remains unclear, especially as the U.S. Army and other services continue to request new weapon systems and sustainment funding while the conflict wears on. Iran received a U.S. response to its latest peace proposal, according to a report by BBC, marking another turn in the ongoing diplomatic back and forth. Iran's foreign ministry said the response, which was delivered via Pakistan, was now being reviewed, according to reports. The U.S. has yet to confirm that it replied to Tehran, even as Trump said that talks are underway, according to reports. U.S. President Trump reportedly told Israel's Khan News that the proposal was unacceptable, further deepening uncertainty around the talks. Tehran's 14-point peace plan asked Washington to withdraw its forces from Iran's border, according to reports outlining the terms of the proposal. Tehran also wanted the U.S. to end the blockade and halt hostilities, including Israel's attacks in Lebanon, as part of a broader de-escalation package. Tehran's peace plan also called for an agreement to be reached within 30 days, setting a tight deadline for any diplomatic breakthrough. Washington has demanded the end of Iran's uranium enrichment, saying it poses a threat to the world, and has made this a central condition in the dispute. In the past, Iran has denied that it was making nuclear weapons and has insisted that its program is focused only on civilian use.